people and why therefore they should become educated themselves as to how things are moving around them so that they can choose the best paths for their own financial futures going forward.
Well, we're very excited to have you with us today, Naomi. Tom Wheelwright.
So I've been in the CPA profession, the tax profession, for over 40 years. I've been working with Robert and Kim for the last 20 some odd years, and wrote the book Tax-Free Wealth, which is a book really about how the tax law is a series of incentives for investors and business owners primarily, and how the government uses tax incentives to motivate what we do in life. So I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. And last but not least, Gerald Celente.
Thank you so much for having me. I began my career back in 1980. It's when I founded the Trends Research Institute, and I have best-selling books, Trends 2000, Trend Tracking, and I published the magazine, The Trends Journal, and began that in 1991. I look at things for the way they are, not the way I want them to be. So what we try to do is take a globalnomic view and looking at the geopolitics, socioeconomics, and across the board, from environmental to healthcare to high tech. And the motto of the magazine and the motto of our work is think for yourself. And that's a very, very important message today, because most people are locked into the belief systems that they politically believe, and that stops them from looking at the broader view of the events. And that stops them from investing properly and securing their future to prepare, prevail, and prosper in what I see is the worst socioeconomic and geopolitical times coming in the future.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Gerald. I appreciate that. And to all of our viewers, because we have folks watching from all over the world, if you didn't catch that, this is an amazing panel that we've got here with some incredible knowledge. So make sure that you're taking notes. I want to jump right in. And Robert, I want to start with you. Why is financial education so important, especially as we head into 2023?
Well, I really think I should start with Kim, because she's kind of the brains of the Rich Dad organization. And when I met her, that's all I talked about was what our schools don't teach us. And there's no financial education in school. In fact, what we teach in school is financial slavery. So Kim's been with me this 30-something years now, and we've watched a lot of change coming, right, Kim?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And I think that's why I'm excited with this panel. I can't wait to see, because I think the most important thing is we're going to have all these different point of views. There's probably going to be a very common thread, but there's going to be a lot of different different points of view. And to Gerald's point, think for yourself. Here, you're going to hear from different people, but you've got to make your own decision. And I got to say, with all these changes coming so fast and so erratic, I think financial education is more important than ever. And I know, Robert, you'll talk about it. The most important thing too is you got to take action. You can't just sit back and hope things are going to get better. You've got to prepare, because I'm excited to hear what everybody here has to say on this panel. I'm gonna be a student today.
Exactly. Well, and I think you bring up a couple of great points. Number one, again, we've got people watching from all over the world, and in a number of countries are facing very similar issues. But with all of your expertise and varying backgrounds, and I'll throw this out there to anybody on the panel, tell me why you would say that our brain is really the biggest asset and or liability. And Robert, I'm going to go back to you on this one.
Well, first of all is thank you. I'm honored to be on this panel. Naomi Prinz has a great book called Collusion, and it fit exactly with the book. I'm a student of Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller, and he wrote a book called The Grunch of Giants. And the Grunch stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. But when I read Naomi's book, Collusion, she's saying exactly what Fuller was saying, and my rich dad was saying, is how the global financial system is tied up in a few people. And then Tom Wheelwright is our financial advisor. And why did we get so rich is because we don't pay taxes legally. And since this is his book is called Tax-Free Wealth, printed in many different languages. And the reason that's important was Tom points out, because we've traveled the world together over these 25 years, is the tax laws are very similar throughout the world. They say, oh, it's different here, it's different. No, the tax laws for the rich, or for those who read my book, Cash Flow Quadrant, the business owner and the investor side are the same throughout the world. If you follow your teacher's advice, is go to school, get a job, or you become a doctor or a lawyer or a smart student, the tax laws are the same for you too. You pay the highest taxes. And my friend Joel Salente, I'm a subscriber of his magazine, Trends, and the definition of intelligence is, first of all, I agree with Joel, his analysis of the trends, because trends are trends, but how you analyze them. But the most important thing about the trend is your friend. And Fuller was a futurist. And so if you want to see the future, you've really got to first see the trends coming up. And so that's kind of what my rich dad taught me, who was a man with no financial education at all. And my rich dad was the head of education for the state of Hawaii, PhD, but he didn't even finish school. He got honoraries. He finished in the University of Hawaii in 2 years, went on to Stanford, University of Chicago, and Northwestern. So they finally awarded him an honorary doctor's degree, although he never graduated. So that just shows what the school system can do for you. Nothing. So anyway, and that's been my whole reason for writing Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And the last thing I want to say is, I think the biggest mistake people make is they expect somebody to invest for them. In other words, you're taught, put your money in a 401k, just give your money once a month, whenever they do that. But that's like me going to the gym, hiring a coach, and the coach says, well, I'll exercise for you. It doesn't do you any good, because you got to do the exercise yourself. And I see stuff like that. And the other thing too is everybody's in pensions, or, my poor dad always said, oh, I don't have to work, I got a teacher's pension. He was also head of the Teachers Union of Hawaii. And I'm not against unions, I'm against stupidity. And I wrote another book called Who Stole My Pension, came out in 2020. And as some of you guys know, our pensions are empty because they've been looted. And I think the biggest mistake people is they're passive. They're passive. They expect somebody to do it for them because our school system teaches don't make mistakes. Oh my God, how do you learn if you don't make a mistake? How does a baby learn to walk if they don't fall down? So if you're listening to your school teachers, oh my God. So the reason I'm all in favor of Rich Dad's World and Rich Dad's coaching, a coach is there to guide you as you go up and you fall down. Because I think we're going into the greatest depression in world history coming up soon. And for some people, it'll be gone. They're finished. But for some people, this coming depression is going to be the biggest opportunity of their life. And we want everybody to have this, watching this podcast, make this the best opportunity of your life. Well, unfortunately, your friends, neighbors, and family members get wiped out.
Yeah.
But it's up to you.
I think it's important too, Robert. We've been talking about 401ks for years, and now so many people just, they rest on that. Well, obviously, what happened with the market recently, a lot of people's world's been turned upside down because they know they're not going to be able to rely on that. So they have to look at trends. And, I think one of the things that our viewers need to keep in mind, we're going to talk about some things that are pretty heavy that are on the horizon here. But one thing I'll always remember, that you've said it for years, you've written it: when do you make your most money? In a downturn. And so it's an exciting time as we talk about these things. So I want to talk about, the stock market with Nomi, but I want to first ask Tom, why is it that real estate is still really the best way to use debt and taxes or to avoid, taxes if you invest correctly?
Well, first of all, going back to Robert's point, that you're a partner with the government, and you're either a silent partner with the government or you're an active partner with the government. So the first thing to decide is, what is it the government wants me to do that they will give me incentives for? And two big things are real estate and debt. The government wants you to use debt because they need debt, because debt's money, as Robert, I learn from Robert all the time. And second of all, they want housing, they want commercial property, they want industrial property. And so what the government does is provide huge tax benefits so that you don't have to put all the money down. So the bank's putting some of the money down, you're putting some of the money down, but the government's also putting some of the money down. And really the fastest way to increase your return on investment is tax benefits, because the government essentially will say, we'll put up to 50% of the money, the down payment down, you put the other 50% and let the bank put up the rest. And then we get what we want, you get what you want. And we get, we get the housing, we get the property that we need.
And can I say this much? The greatest asset between this year and this year, call your brain. And unfortunately, it's also your biggest liability if you've never had any financial education. But what Tom is saying there is how you think about it, because the real inflation rate today, according to John Williams of Shadowstacks, is 16.9%. And so everybody say, well, real estate's high. Well, real estate is high. I mean, interest rates are too high. Well, interest rates are driving real estate prices down. That's an opportunity. See, but interest rates are high. But if you can borrow at 7% and inflation is running at, let's say, 17%, you're still 10 points ahead. But you have to know what you're doing. That's why I don't recommend real estate for the average punter out there, the loser, who just wants to buy low and sell high or flip it and all this. This is not the time to do that. 2023, 2024, 2025 is probably going to be a depression. More bargains are going to float to the surface. As Warren Buffett says, you find out who's been swimming naked when the tide goes out. Well, the tide is going out right now. But if you're not financially educated, it's best you just save your money. Right, Tom? I mean, that's...
Well, there's no question. I mean, Nomi can talk to this, but I always say the great Wall Street lie is that Wall Street can do it better than you can. And nobody cares more about your money. No, you can't get the tax benefits if you give your money to Wall Street. You get the tax benefits by investing directly yourself, doing the things the government wants done.
And what people get, they can't see what's going on because they get locked into the system. As Robert said, they brainwash you in school to think the way they want you to think. It's not a public school system. It's a government system. You have to fit into a lock. You have to fit into a system. So the people that are going to get ahead are the ones that look at the events of the world for what they are, not the way you want them to be. Look at what's going on, know the facts, and break out of the system. Because if you're stuck into the system, you're going to go down with it. And as what I see it now, and I agree with Robert, we are going into the worst socioeconomic and geopolitical crisis in modern history. Oh, what's your inflation rate over there? As he said, John Williams, Shadow Stats. It's only like 17% in the United States, 16.9. Oh, over there in Germany, it's only 10.4%. How much did your energy prices go up? Oh, only 40% last month. Oh, only over 100,000 small and medium-sized businesses, according to reports coming out of Italy, are going out of business this year. So what people have to understand, you're going to see a lot of protest demonstrations. You think you have a refugee crisis now? Global. And it goes back to, what do you do to invest at the worst times? And to me, the worst times are coming, and some of the best times to invest.
And Gerald, real quick, I mean, if I understand some of what you're saying, and people's eyes are being opened to the fact that, the system is rigged. They have to take control of their financial future again, which is why I'm so happy that so many people are watching right now, and I want to applaud them for doing that from all around the world. Nomi, I want to ask you, because I there's no question that after the last year, people are realizing they can't rely on just a 401k for their future. But why should they not depend on the stock market, especially going into 2023?
Well, because we are in a situation where the economy and as well as the housing market are going to be experiencing some real pain. Obviously, with respect to inflation, as Robert mentioned, as Gerald mentioned, we are definitely setting ourselves up, and I say we, I mean the economy in general, for some real problems along the line. So what's going on now? Interest rates are going up by too much. I believe that's going to continue. That's going to choke a lot of the potential for debt for the average consumer if they don't know where to look, or they don't understand that it's still okay to borrow if what they are investing in will return them more than what they are borrowing. And there are opportunities like that. There are some opportunities in energy, for example, because energy prices are going to go up, in real commodities, because real commodities are going to be used to build things. And that's going to be continued no matter what happens with rates and the real economy. And in fact, that's a hedge against inflation. Things like gold, things like silver, things like copper, which is one of my favorite investments on the commodity sides going forward. But where does that all come into fruition? Into the housing market. And right now, because people are afraid of rates, people understandably are afraid of what the Fed will do next. And frankly, Jerome Powell has literally no clue about what's going on in the real economy. Literally none. I mean, I've thought this for a long time, but this year it's just, I just wrote a book called Permanent Distortion. Part of why this distortion between the markets and the real economy is not going to change because it is permanent is because of people like Powell having the power to move money around. So we need to be smarter than him, which is not hard, but we need to use money effectively, even when it's becoming more costly. And the place to do that actually is in the real estate market, especially this year, because rates are going to continue to rise. They, I believe, will level off towards the middle or end of the year. And I believe because the economy is going to go down, they're going to start to be cut in the following year. But that's too late to get those investments in. So now is the time when rates are about to get to their sort of interim peak in the next 6-7 months or so in 2023 to actually get invested. You can refinance later, but to get invested because the opportunities are there right now.
So I want to talk a little about the real estate, but I want to ask you first, because Naomi mentioned it. Why is gold and silver still a great wealth preservation strategy after all this time?
Well, because as JP Morgan said, gold is money, everything else is credit. And the US went on the credit market big time in 1971 when President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. But let me just say, it really doesn't make a difference. But the most important thing, and ask Kim, remember when you first started out investing in real estate, we were excited to get interest rates at 9.5%. Remember that? We were thrilled to get.
Yeah, our interest
because real
rates
estate was so depressed, we didn't care if we could just get the interest at 9.5%. We were happy because we know which direction, which is the trends that Gerald talks about. We know which way real estate was going because they were dropping interest rates. And when interest rates drop, debt goes up. And what Powell or the Fed is doing right now, they're raising interest rates at the peak of our debt. They're going to bankrupt the taxpayer, which is why Tom is on this call. Right, Tom? Who's going to pay for the debt? The taxpayer.
No, there's no question. There's two ways that the consumer, that the American public or the public at large, no matter what country you're in, pay for the debt. You pay for it through inflation. That's one way you pay for the debt. And the other is through taxes. So inflation being the bigger tax, but your taxes are paying for it one way or the other. Anything where the government says, well, this is important, there's going to be subsidies, and the subsidies all come through the tax law.
And can I add one more thing, because we're an international broadcast right now? The tax laws are the same throughout the world, because no matter where we went throughout the world, oh, that's the US, it's not true here. And Tom would show them the tax law. It's the same throughout the world. Investors and entrepreneurs, I mean, big entrepreneurs, not small entrepreneurs, get the best tax breaks, right, Tom?
Yeah, every country incentivizes business. Every country incentivizes technology. Every country incentivizes agriculture. Every country incentivizes real estate and energy. So these are common incentives through every country because every country wants the same thing.
Let's talk a little bit about, and Kim, I want to go to you first, the importance. We're talking about financial education, having somebody in your corner to help guide you through these waters that we're getting ready to come into that are going to be very rough, and people have to be prepared. Talk about the importance of having coaches and mentors and experts.
Well, So I've had mentors, Robert has had mentors, we've had all our life. Today, we have mentors, and we're very fortunate to have access to people like Nomi and Gerald and Tom to learn from, to ask questions of. I don't think we would be where we are. I know we would not be where we are had we not had the mentors. And to Robert's point, I mean, we have real estate mentors, we have business mentors, we have investment mentors, we have health mentors. But to your point, Robert, about interest rates. So the very first property that we bought back in 1989, the interest rate was at 10%. So people have gotten very, very spoiled and lazy, in my opinion, with these low interest rates. You just have to get smarter. If you can get a deal that's cash flowing at a 10% interest rate, they're out there, and they will be more and more out there, because people who were lazy and bought when they barely could, stay above water, unfortunately, they're going to lose their properties. And if you're smarter and you understand what you're doing, there's going to be huge opportunities out there. And mentors, back to your point, Chris, mentors are a key. They're a key.
No doubt. And I think again, I think it's so important that our viewers recognize that regardless of what's happening, what's on the horizon, there are opportunities. There are going to be new opportunities. Robert, you've talked about that, for years. But I want to ask Gerald, because of course we were talking about trends earlier. Can you hone in on one or two trends that to you show some opportunity going into 2023?
So when you're looking at the interest rates now, you're still in negative territory when you put inflation into it. And by raising interest rates is going to do nothing to bring down inflation, because inflation wasn't caused by this. It was caused by the fake money that the central banksters and governments pumped into the system. And then going back to what Nomi said about them raising interest rates, and they're going to do it. They're going to raise them, and then they're going to lower them before the 2024 elections. Yeah. They do it all the time. Go back to when Reagan did it, same thing. Yeah. Oh, you had the 1987 stock market crash. Remember that one? Yeah, they pumped up the markets, lowering interest rates. So they're going to do it again, and it goes back to gold. Why aren't gold prices higher? Because the dollar's strong. How could the dollar be strong when you have $31 trillion in government debt, and when you put all the other debt onto it, Social Security, on and on and on? What are the numbers? Nomi knows better than me, probably about 200 trillion plus. So the only reason—
286.
How much?
No, 286 trillion in the world.
All right.
It's a lot.
So the only reason the dollar is strong is because the other currencies are so weak. But the dollar's not worth anything when they're pumping all this cheap money into the system. So the rising inflation rates are only going to hurt the economy. And it goes back to what Robert and Kim is saying about buying when everybody thinks it's going down. It's going to go back up. I mean, what was the average price of a home this year? It was like $420,000 or something in the United States. In 1984, I bought 38 acres in an old house for $28,000. Inflation? We haven't seen anything yet. It's going to continue to get worse. And to me, it goes back to gold. Gold, to me, is the most precious safe haven asset. Gold, real estate, to me, are number one and number two and number two and number one. And so when you have to, again, look at the facts. And again, what people, being Americans, people don't know what's going on around the world. They don't have a clue of the protests that are going on in the Czech Republic, in Italy, in France, in Germany, with people taking to the streets because of the high energy prices and their economies going down and they can't afford to live. You're going to see inflation. You're going to see protests. You're going to see a lot of social unrest. So to me, when things get like this, gold, again, is number one. And inflation, and then gold to me is only being held down because of the artificially boosted dollar.
I think, again, that the Fed is going to continue to raise rates, which is going to squeeze the consumer and therefore make them have to think more about the investments they make that will pay returns, like real estate, like the appreciation of commodities. And then, of course, there's going to be those bargains and those specific gems in the real estate sector. And there's going to be gold, because you're right. I agree with you, Gerald. And also, I think all of us here on the gold page, the dollar has gotten strong for a number of reasons. Uncertainty throughout the world, geopolitics, problems, other currencies being weaker, and the Fed going crazy on a tear with this accelerated interest rate hike situation because they got inflation so wrong for so long and created a lot of it, right? So they're in this sort of weird other universe. But the reality of that means that at some point they have to pause and they have to go and cut rates. And I agree that's going to happen during the election year. And so you position yourself with, real estate deals now, new and traditional energy along the way, commodities along the way until we hit pause mid-year. We do see an S&P rise on the back of some of those sectors because they do have all the incentives around them. And then in 2024, I think we're going to see that the economies are being ripped apart. For all of these reasons. And the Fed and other central banks are going to turn around and pump more money into the system and reduce rates. And then we're going to have an election. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Because I do believe, like you said, there's a large portion of this country that is in la la land. They have no clue what's around the corner. I mean, we've talked about it, Robert. If people think civil war is not a possibility, they're naive. I mean, it's just that's where we are. But for our viewers that are being proactive, they're on here. Nomi, you gave us some great ones, but I do want to ask the rest of you, what are some real wealth creation opportunities going into 2023? I'll start with Robert and Kim.
Well, let me start with this because Tom hit it earlier. Taxes go up, interest rates go up, and all this stuff. But taxes and interest rates are the same thing. Inflation is a tax. And the smart investor, inflation will make them richer. Interest rates will make them richer. And so will taxes make them richer. And so that's why we say at Rich Dad, you have a left ear and a right ear. What's between that is yours. It doesn't belong to the Treasury and it doesn't belong to Wall Street. But you're responsible for this 6-inch gap here. What do you put in it and who do you listen to? So this is your greatest asset or liability. And that's why Kim and I created the cash flow board game, which sits behind Kim. As Maria Montessori said, the great educational entrepreneur, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So my rich dad taught me about real estate playing Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, 1031, tax deferred exchange, red hotels. So Kim and I own red hotels, thousands and thousands of greenhouses, but our interest rates are fixed and all this other stuff. But it's a real game for Kim and I. And I think that's what I want to pass on to you. Like Kim and I are going to get richer and richer and richer. Nomi is, Gerald is, Tom is. We want you to get richer too, but you've got to take back control of this. But if somebody is running your 401k for you, you're out of control.
Yeah. Right, Kim?
I think that, and that's the key word, is control, because we invest in things that we can control. Nomi is an expert in the stock market. I'm not interested in it. So if I have a question, I go to Nomi, but I can't control the stock market. We can control our real estate. We can control our businesses. We can control holding gold and silver instead of cash. And one of the things I want to say is one of the reasons I think these events like this are so important is because you've got to be ahead of the game. And I remember probably a year ago, we had one of these events, and I think it was Kenny was on the show, Kenny McElroy, and he was talking about the one thing you can do right now is fixed interest rates. So you know how many people probably fixed interest rates, maybe, I don't know, 1-2%. And now they're like, oh, should have fixed interest rates. Well, pay attention. There's clues out here. There's tips out here that are going to help you going forward. And you've got some great experts right here in front of you. But yes, we invest in things we can control. I can't, even our oil deals, we know the owner of these wells and we can talk to them at any time and get the scoop on what's really happening, not the fake news that's out there.
You know, Kim, the ironic thing is that things you control are the things you get tax benefits for. You don't get tax benefits for things you can't control.
Yeah.
Those things actually go together, and there's a reason, because what you can control are things that you can either manufacture, you can build, you can create. You can't control the things that are just derivatives of other people's build, control, and create. So tax incentives come from building and creating. And that's why you get the tax incentives and the same things you can control.
Amen.
Well said.
Well, and I think it's so important. We were talking about the importance of coaches. People need to recognize what's happening in the world right now. They're being sold a lie. More and more, there's this underlying theme that capitalism is evil. And of course, we know why that's the message they want to send. So I think there's never been a more important time to surround yourself with people like the group on this panel today, obviously, but others that are like-minded, so that you don't end up, getting this distorted view in your head where you think you need to rely on the government. I mean, it's a reality that we're all living in right now.
Well, I like too, Chris, that the coaches, the Rich Dad coaches, they're real teachers. I mean, they're out there and they're doing what they're coaching on. They're not theorizing. They're talking about real estate. They own real estate and they invest in real estate. So you want to learn from mentors and coaches who are doing what it is you want to do, who are not just talking about it like as a school teacher does.
Yeah.
I hire a coach when I go to the gym, but if the coach does the exercise for me, why even go? But that's what a 401k is, an IRA is, whatever else these guys invest in. If you want somebody else to invest for you, who cares? Right, Tom? I mean, you don't control the tax law, but you understand the tax law.
Well, yeah. And to go this whole point about understanding the facts, I don't take somebody's opinion about what the tax law says. I research and read the tax law itself. I read the court cases. I read the regulations. And then I look at, okay, so what is it actually saying? And then I actually have to apply it. So the same thing is true when you talk about coaches. Your mentors include your advisors, your CPAs, your coaches, your financial advisors. I mean, these are people that you should be talking to, but then you take the action, not give up your control so that they have to take the action for you.
Well, and along that line, and I'm sure some of you, one of the things that's very difficult when people watch one of these discussions, they look at all of you and they recognize you've all reached a level of success and feel like maybe they can't relate. But certainly there was a time when you were venturing into new territory. It was something you weren't accustomed to. Maybe it was a new investment opportunity, but fear played into it. Why is it important for our viewers not to let fear hold them back? And I'd really like to hear from any of you that would like to.
Well, let me say this. You think I'm rich now? Wait till after this crash. Do you know what I mean? That's all I want to say. Kim and I and Nomi and Tom and Gerald, we don't stop learning. I had a benefit as a young boy. My middle name was Stupid. So I could always learn more. And the problem with a PhD, like my poor dad, he thought his PhD was going to protect him. And I was just in a bank right down the street from our house, and the bank was empty. It's a national bank. It was still full of customers. What was empty was the loan department. They weren't making loans anymore. And I'm going, interest rates, what, 5%? That's why I said, Kim and I were buying it at 9.5%. But we saw the trend, which is what Gerald talks about. I said, oh my God, the trend's our friend. Right, Gerald? The trend is your friend, or it could be your enemy.
It's right here. The trend is your friend.
May I add something real quickly here? Is that we're all human beings and we all have fear. So I think people say, well, it's easy for you guys. You have money now, you're successful and all this, but we're all human beings. We all have fear and we all have doubt. But the difference is what do you do about it? And I think the most important thing is where Kim and I are blessed is we have people like Nomi and Tom and Gerald and the whole Rich Dad world, our coaches around us. that we know who to call when it's dark, when we're afraid. So like Kim calls Nomi, I call Nomi. I said, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? And it's not that she knows or not knows. I have somebody to talk to. And I think that's going to become your greatest asset or your liability. Because if you argue with an idiot or you take advice from an idiot, you have two idiots.
Probably the most important point that anybody can take away from this today. There's so much great information, but it's your choice. Who you're going to listen to? Are you going to listen to the media? You listen to the world that's going to feed that fear? Are you going to surround yourself with experts, people that are going someplace that you want to be, and listen to them? So I would just like to hear from each of you, just some last thoughts going into 2023. What are you most optimistic about?
Well, I just want to say again, I'm optimistic that we are actually having this conversation and we're actually imparting information and in a direction which says, look at facts, because facts are like the opposite of fear, right? When you are just letting fear guide you, you're not open to the facts. So just by definition, as soon as you open to actually getting information and thinking for yourself, that fear actually dissipates. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of opinion. But again, peeling that away, thinking for yourself, looking at facts is really important. And from my perspective, the facts are saying that the cost of credit is going to get higher. It's going to squeeze the consumer. It's going to create illiquidity in certain markets. And for the people that can access the liquidity that does exist into investments that are real and that are at deals and that can produce income going forward, are going to find those bargains. You just have to have your eyes open.
And Nomi, I would add to that, when you talk about fear, so I'm talking to a friend of mine recently, and she said her parents were in such fear a year ago of what was happening. So what did they do? They cut back, they shrunk to the point, and they had a very, very nice lifestyle, to the point where today the dad is an Uber driver and the mother works at Target.
Oh.
So I would say, I'm just reiterating what you're saying, Nomi, because people tend to pull back and then they find themselves in a horrific situation. So instead of pulling back, go forward and see where you can, take tiny steps, get the facts, take tiny steps, invest little monies to start, learn, but don't cringe back, because that'll wipe you out.
Kim, I think you're entirely right. I actually think fear and uncertainty are the opportunity, because I'm in a profession where 95% of my competitors are afraid of the IRS. So if I'm not afraid of the IRS because I understand the law and I understand how to deal with the IRS, I've got this huge advantage. And I think that's going to be true more in the next couple of years than it's been for a very long time, that those who take advantage of everybody else being having fear and uncertainty, because now they've got a coach with Rich Dad Coaching. They've got mentors. They're using this space, as you say, Robert, between their ears. They're using that. Now, all of a sudden, now you've got a huge advantage because everybody else has fear and uncertainty. So I actually think that's the big opportunity.
Nomi, it all nailed it. Facts are the opposite of fear. When people get fearful, their capacity for critical thinking gets disabled. And what everybody here is saying is not to be fearful, stay with the facts. And Nomi, you summed it up perfectly as I see it, in what to invest in, where to invest in, and why to invest in what's happening in the future. And Robert as well, in saying that, at the bottom, and Kim, is the time to go up. And the bottom is going to happen. When it happens, we're going to see in several months. And so what I'm saying is that, I'm speaking for myself, in looking at the future, get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Because the bottom line is, you're on your own. You can look to everybody else for help and assistance, but you have to be in the best shape you can in every way you can to move ahead the strongest that you can.
Well, I can't reiterate enough to turn off that news, and Gerald, to your point that the media is just throwing so much fear and paralyzing people, pitting people against each other. So turn off the noise, start learning on Rich Dad World, start learning from newsletters from Nomi and Gerald and Tom, and books and YouTube. And there's so much good information out there. And to the point, don't be fearful. Take those steps and take just little steps. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to bet the ranch. Just take little steps. That's how Robert and I learn. We want to learn about an investment. We want to learn about a business. We put a little money into it. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but you know what? We always get smarter.
Mhm.
If you have no action, you don't learn anything.
So you got to take control. But I always remember my favorite financial advisor is Miss Piggy. And this Miss Piggy, and one more thing, this is going to be the best time of your life or the worst. It's up to you. But as Miss Piggy says, the answer to all financial problems is make more money. I'll leave it with that.
And with that, thank you to our amazing panel today. We definitely covered a lot of great information about what lies ahead for investors in 2023 and beyond. And so I just want to tell all of our viewers, make sure that you stay tuned so that you can hear more about how you can continue your financial education from the Rich Dad World. So stick around.
Wow, that was incredible. What a powerful event. Now, let's talk about how you can turn that information into a plan of action to accomplish your personal financial goals. Now, Robert's agreed to join me for this upcoming segment to answer your questions and help you get started. Now, while Robert takes a minute to get settled in before answering questions, he asked me to share with you the details about his latest step-by-step how-to training program. While he gets ready, let me say, I hope you're feeling motivated to get out of the rat race once and for all and take your next step right away. Robert and I both have complete confidence in your ability to do this because you know what? Most people don't seek out financial education like you're doing right now. Only the most successful people do that. And by showing up here today to seek out a better life, you've shown you're ready to do whatever it takes to be successful. What we're about to share with you is so exclusive, it's limited to only the first 100 people who respond during the airing of this event. Robert is so passionate about elevating the financial well-being of humanity, he's giving away 6 free coaching sessions with his personally trained coaches. But it's only for the first 100 of you who want to get started today. This is an unadvertised special bonus from Robert valued at $2,000. You may never see this free coaching offer ever again. This opportunity is designed to help you quickly achieve financial independence and begin immediately increasing your monthly cash flow. Hopefully, after today's session, you're going to realize how simple success can be if you just follow the path of those who have already done what you're trying to do. This is why Robert is giving away this free, unadvertised $2,000 bonus today. Learn what they did to succeed and repeat what they did. It's the easiest and fastest way to achieve results. Okay, and remember, as promised, Robert is going to stick around and answer your questions, and he's going to share advice to help you take your next steps. Plus, stay tuned after the question and answer session with Robert for a special bonus segment so you can take what you've learned today and end up miles ahead of what most people achieve financially in their lifetime. And I certainly hope you do that. I took action myself 20 years ago, and with no experience, no blueprint, I had only read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but I knew it was possible. You don't need to waste your time, energy, and hard-earned money the way that I did. You can virtually eliminate your risks and financially achieve success in a fraction of the time it took me. 20 years ago, I wish I had what Robert and his team are going to offer you today, an exclusive invitation to secure your financial freedom and exit the rat race by implementing Robert's real estate cash flow blueprint. The first of its kind online training system will walk you through the exact steps to acquire at least one cash flow producing property in the next year, and then repeat the process again and again. So if you're serious about finally getting out of the rat race, if you want a proven step-by-step system to achieve financial freedom faster than you ever thought possible, if you want to guarantee yourself a raise of at least $6,000 every single year, and if you want to take all of the risky guesswork out of increasing your cash flow, then the Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint is specifically for you. In order to fulfill Robert's mission to elevate the financial well-being of humanity, he worked with his team to develop an innovative, step-by-step system that lays out exactly what to do to achieve financial independence with real estate. It's literally a blueprint for building a bridge to financial freedom the Rich Dad way. After you've gone through this step-by-step system, you'll know exactly how to buy your first or your next investment property with positive cash flow, with little or none of your own money guaranteed. Take Lisa, for example. She started like I did. She picked up the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad and had her eyes opened. She had to really work to get her husband on board at first because this was such a big change for them. But they knew they had to do something different because they had such big expenses and no true assets. But now their passive income has surpassed their expenses. Here's what Lisa had to say. We're proud to say we reached our goal of acquiring passive income over expenses in our own personal lives. This was no easy task since we had lots of expenses and no true assets. However, with the knowledge that the Rich Dad team offers, which is massive, a little patience, persistence, and minding our business, we were able to achieve this in a few short years. Lisa R., Tennessee. Wow, I still can't help but get excited when I hear results like that. And the Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint is going to make them attainable for you, too. This system comes to you with 7 comprehensive sessions you can access anytime, where Robert's personally trained real estate experts walk you through every profit-making strategy you need to know. They'll show you step-by-step how to achieve real wealth with real estate. Even if you have little or no money, no experience, and you have a full-time job, let me quickly show you what you're going to learn in each module. In module number 1, Think Like the Rich, you'll learn how to leverage not only your own money, but more importantly, other people's money to unlock true wealth. You'll start to think like the rich think and seize opportunities that are right in your backyard, just like the rich do. In module number 2, Taking Control of Your Cash Flow, you'll learn how simple it is to finally take back control of your cash flow and establish your plan, be secure, and live life on your terms. Module number 3 is where you're going to learn how you can do this no matter what your schedule is, whether you have a demanding full-time job or you're an extremely busy parent. It's called Making Time for Success. And by the end, you'll be leveraging your personal time like the rich manage theirs, so you can get the highest returns on the time you do have available. In module number 4, Identifying Your Target Market, we'll give you the tips, tricks, and secrets to locate properties with the most profit potential. So you're not going to have to worry about where to look or how to know if a property has great potential or not. We're going to show you exactly what to look for and what to avoid. Of course, finding the right market and properties is only half the equation. That's why in module number 5, Finding Properties That Cash Flow, we'll show you how to find motivated sellers and maximize your cash flow, so you don't have to waste your time chasing unprofitable deals. After doing this over and over again all over the world, we know the specific traits to look for in a seller in order to get unbelievable value out of your deal. So this really gives you an unfair advantage in every potential deal you find. In module number 6, Showing You the Money, you'll learn how you can acquire almost any deal using creative financing techniques to purchase properties with little or no down payment. And ultimately, in module number 7, Doing Your First Deal, you're going to see step-by-step how to establish connections and negotiate your deals for maximum cash flow. As you watch these sessions, Robert's experts will walk you through everything you need to quickly start acquiring cash flow producing properties. You're also going to have instant access to Robert's step-by-step real estate cash flow curriculum, which includes in-depth exercises and training materials. This will allow you to map out your exact plan of action, so you'll have a completely unique blueprint designed the Rich Dad way for your specific market and your financial situation. So, immediately after you join today, you're going to receive an email from the Rich Dad team giving you instant access to the entire real estate cash flow blueprint system. Inside our secure, members-only site, you'll have immediate access to the highest quality training material we believe exists on the market today. And you'll also get every update that we implement as time goes on. So you can keep coming back to this again and again to help you acquire even more assets. You're getting the exact system Robert's developed to help people acquire their first property without the fear and pitfalls that hold most would-be investors back. Start generating positive cash flow and passive income within just a few months of getting started. Eliminate the easily avoidable but all too common mistakes that cost amateur investors thousands of dollars and endless stress. Becoming financially free so you can stop worrying and live the life you've always wanted. Maybe that means taking that dream vacation with your family. Or maybe it means eventually walking away from your 9-to-5 job so you can have the flexibility to spend more time with the people that matter most while pursuing your passion. It's all put together for you as if Robert's team of experts were standing right beside you, showing you what to do every step of the way. You can do this if you have no experience, even if you don't have a ton of money or good credit, and even if you feel like you don't have the spare time to get started. Let's hear about the experience of a couple of rich dad success stories who took control of their financial future, and they've seen some amazing results.
I had taken Robert's first class. So Robert's one of his coaching classes. And I went off and I bought my first rental. Along with that, I have used Robert's knowledge that he's given me to purchase commercial land. And now I'm buying this building. I believe in what Robert's saying. Like, I'm just going to trust and I'm going to do what they tell me to do. Increase my financial education as much as I can. And it's certainly not the popular thing among all my friends who are like employees and they got degrees and now I'll see those guys around town like, hey, Charles, how's work going? I'm like, I don't work anymore. You guys work. I am living the dream. I love what I'm doing. And I had some offline discussions with my coach and picked his brain on some questions that I had, and he was very helpful. But the people that I've acquired on my teams over the years can help me through it too. And I look to the Rich Dad coaches for their help too.
Hi everybody, this is a warm welcome from Munich, Germany. My name is Martina. I started then watching all the events in the internet with Kim and Robert, and finally I realized that I'd done enough reading, done enough passive watching, and that it was about time to take action, and that was the moment where I enrolled into the Rich Dad program. And since then my life really has been speeding up. I'm now about halfway through the program, and I've already made some really amazing experiences, and things definitely have changed for me. The most amazing thing for me was that I suddenly started realizing that there were opportunities out there right in front of me. Just didn't realize that they're there, I just didn't see them. Not only get the theoretical education, but also to learn the practical things step by step. Is working no matter which country you come from. It really gives you the confidence, it gives you the knowledge, it gives you the tools to take the necessary steps to gain some passive income and to change your financial education.
There's no good reason why you can't be one of Robert's next success stories. If they did it, you can too. Again, the Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint is going to show you how to achieve these same kinds of results. And because you'll have complete access to the training, you can use it to duplicate those results again and again as you acquire more and more assets. Now, I'm guessing the question on everyone's mind at this point is, how much does the Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint cost? We believe the financial education this system gives you exceeds virtually any other real estate investing seminar or course you'll find in the market. And there are live in-person investing seminars charging as much as $30,000 for teaching similar kinds of real estate investing techniques. Not only are these seminars expensive, they're inconvenient. You have the added cost of travel, not to mention the time spent away from your family. And then you have to cram into some hotel room and listen to speakers drone on for hours. And if you attend one of these, I hope you're great at taking notes, because you only get to hear the information once. You don't get to come back to it again and again in a convenient online format like Robert's Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint. That's why Robert created the new Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint system, so everyone could afford the professional support they need to finally get out of the rat race once and for all. And the great news is, Robert's newest step-by-step system won't cost you anywhere near $30,000. To make sure everyone can afford the training and education necessary to build wealth and finally get out of the rat race, Robert is making his new Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint system available today only to the first 100 students at an exclusive introductory live stream special price. Now, this offer is only valid during this strategy session, and it's limited to the first 100 students who act right now. To take advantage of the exclusive introductory live stream offer for the first 100 students and get instant access to the entire Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint, simply click the button that says, "Yes, I want in." You'll enter your information into our secure system, and you'll get an email giving you immediate access. Robert is so passionate about helping students who help themselves. He wants to reward your decision to take action and invest in your financial freedom with 3 incredible bonuses, available exclusively to those attending this strategy session. The first bonus, it's called the Personal Real Estate Riches Profile, and it was created by the world-renowned Myers-Briggs. This profile will show you that it really doesn't matter what kind of personality you have, whether you're introverted, extroverted, feel anxious talking about money, or excited about it. There are proven tactics you can use to feel comfortable and confident in the negotiating process and save yourself thousands of dollars. So that means you're going to get Rich Dad's Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint and the Personal Real Estate Riches Profile, which is already a total value of close to $2,700. Of course, you'll be getting it at a fraction of that. But that's not all you're going to get. Let's talk about bonus number 2. Now, the only thing that can be more paralyzing than the fear of getting started with taking control of your financial future is the legal side of acquiring assets. Can you do it without hiring an expensive lawyer? The second bonus you're getting solves all those issues. It's Robert's Proven Real Estate Contracts and Forms Toolkit. It gives you tested professional contracts and forms you can use with confidence to profit from your first deal. This bonus alone has a value of $495. For people who take action and join today, we have an exclusive third bonus that gives you everything you need to scale beyond your first success and truly maximize your cash flow. The Insider Secrets to Scaling Your Cash Flow and Mastering Real Estate bonus course. In these bonus sessions, Robert's personally trained experts are going to reveal the insider secrets of how to build off your first success and truly scale your wealth in a predictable way. In these 7 bonus sessions, you're going to learn things like the secrets to painless and profitable property management. So many people don't realize you don't have to turn into a handyman or maintenance engineer to own properties if you learn to do it the Rich Dad way, which is exactly what we'll show you. You're also going to learn how to build your own personal team of advisors. We'll show you how to surround yourself with specialists so you can continue growing your wealth even faster and with even more time and freedom in your schedule. You'll also discover the secrets to skyrocketing cash flow with foreclosures and fixer-uppers. Robert's experts walk you through the exact process for finding and acquiring distressed properties for maximum profit. And best of all, we'll show you how to leverage the simple real estate tax advantages the rich have known about for decades. After all, Robert doesn't pay taxes. Why should you? Honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what these sessions will cover. And if you're an action taker, we're going to reward you with this third bonus worth nearly $2,000. It's everything you need to fill your asset column with income-producing properties. To recap, that means you get the Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint, the Personal Real Estate Riches Profile created with Myers-Briggs, Robert's Proven Real Estate Contracts and Forms Toolkit, and the Insider Secrets to Scaling Your Cash Flow and Mastering Real Estate bonus course. Sold separately, this would easily have a value of over $5,000, but you'll get them for a fraction of that. This is the only time we've ever offered this kind of training and this much value at this exclusive bargain price. And it's only available right here on this strategy session to the first 100 students. After we finish the Q&A with Robert, this opportunity will disappear and we may never ever offer it again at this price. So I want you to imagine for a moment, if all this did was finally give you the nudge you need to finally get out of the rat race and start making significant progress toward getting financial freedom, would it be worth it? Or what if it gave you the flexibility to start setting your own schedule so you can spend more time with the people who matter most to you? How would it feel to take that day off just because you feel like it? Would that be worth it? Or how about simply having peace of mind that your family's financial future is secure? What would it be worth to never have to worry about what things might look like 5 or 10 years from now because of the decision you make today? It would absolutely be worth it, right? Now, I know when we talk in those terms, it can almost sound like a dream, like something that's always going to be beyond your reach. But let's do some quick back-of-the-napkin math right here so you can see just how attainable your dreams really are when you start building wealth with cash flow producing real estate. So if all this program did was show you how to get just one property that gave your family an extra $500 of cash flow per month, that would add up to an extra $6,000 every year. That would be great, right? When's the last time you got a $6,000 raise? But even more importantly, you'd know exactly how to do it again and again and finally get out of the rat race. Think about this for a minute. What could it do for your life if you didn't stop with just one property? Imagine if you continued to simply repeat the process and bought just one additional property per year that each generated $500 per month. That would be $90,000 in additional cash flow over the next 5 years. Plus, the increased equity in those properties while someone else is making the payments for you. And remember, that's from only taking the time to do this once per year. But what if you did a little more? What if you acquired just 3 properties per year? Those numbers would add up fast. You could see over $250,000 of additional cash flow in just 5 years. It might sound crazy, but it shows you what can happen when you implement Robert's proven strategies. And maybe some of you want to take it to another level. Maybe you're targeting 1 property per month. That would be 12 properties per year. I'm not even going to share how much cash flow that would be, but you can guess it's a really big number. Do you see how exciting this is? I hope you feel as excited as I do about these numbers. And don't forget, not only are you creating positive cash flow every month, but you're also controlling potentially millions of dollars in real estate. And other people are paying the mortgages. This makes your small investment in yourself here today a no-brainer. What you have in front of you today is exactly the solution I wish I had when I started back in 1997. Robert's real estate cash flow blueprint means you don't need to suffer through the expensive trial and error of going it alone. It's going to show you step by step how you can acquire at least 1 positive cash flow producing property in this next year, and then go out and repeat the process over and over, even if you have no cash to invest, poor or no credit, and no experience. All the hard work has been done for you. It can give you lifelong passive income to finally get out of the rat race once and for all. Now, I know many of you are familiar with Robert and Rich Dad. You've read a book or two and you've seen the actual results the Rich Dad way has achieved for thousands and thousands of investors all over the world. But I know for some of you, this is our first time meeting and getting to know one another. Maybe you're much newer to Rich Dad, and while Robert and I hope we've given you incredible value by taking you deeper into the secrets of gaining financial freedom today, we want to make sure this decision to invest in your financial future is as easy as possible. We want to give you what is truly a risk-free investment for making the bold decision to take control of your life right now. That's why Robert is backing this program with a 30-day money back guarantee. We're so confident this is going to help you start generating passive income quickly. We're removing all the risk. So if you decide for any reason this isn't for you, just let the Rich Dad team know in the first 30 days and you'll receive a full refund with no hassle and no questions asked. This gives you plenty of time to jump into the real estate cash flow blueprint and see just how game-changing it can be for your income and your lifestyle. That's how confident we are that this will have a profound impact on your life. Also, for those of you who are excited to dive into the training, but maybe you're a little hesitant or afraid of getting stuck, we want to make this as simple as possible for you. That's why Robert is making a special free unadvertised bonus available today and worth $2,000, but it's only for the first 100 students. This free bonus will give you 6 comprehensive coaching sessions where Robert's personally trained real estate coaches will walk you through every profit-making strategy you need to know. And remember, these are experienced real estate investors. Just click yes, I want in to learn more. Now, if there's one thing I know from experience, if you want to be your own boss, if you really want to get out of the rat race, you have to take action. You have to make a choice. You can choose to do nothing, continue on your current path and hope for the best, or you can make the choice that separates amateurs from professionals. You can choose to follow a proven system made by a team invested in your success. You can learn step by step exactly what to do from successful investors who have accomplished the thing that you're trying to accomplish. So here's your chance. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. If you're in, simply click the button and get started risk-free. With Robert's proven real estate cash flow blueprint system, you get everything you need to finally get out of the rat race. Anyone can become a Rich Dad success story, no matter their current situation. Do you want to be the next success story? If you're really serious and ready to take the next step to achieve true financial independence, there's never been a better, more convenient, simpler way to do it. This how-to training will literally walk you through step by step how to acquire income properties that are producing positive cash flow using Robert's proven wealth building methods. But if you really want this, you have to step up right now.
Imagine for a moment how your life would improve with just an extra $500 or $1,000 per month for the rest of your life. If all this system did was get you 1 or 2 real estate investments, that's exactly what you'd get. Not to mention the long-term equity and tax savings you'd accumulate. That alone would be worth the modest investment today, wouldn't it? The program pricing and bonuses Robert and his team have assembled are not available to the general public, and they may never be offered again at this low event price. The bonuses and special event pricing are going to disappear after we end our time here together today. If you really want to achieve financial freedom for yourself that you don't have today, I urge you not to hesitate another second and risk missing out on this amazing opportunity. So Robert is standing by for Q&A, but before we get into the questions, let me recap what your opportunity is today. Instant access to Robert's cutting-edge real estate cash flow blueprint system, plus bonus number 1, the personal real estate riches profile backed by world-renowned Myers-Briggs. Bonus number 2, Robert's proven real estate contracts and forms toolkit. Bonus number 3, the insider secrets to scaling your cash flow and mastering real estate bonus course. A total value of over $5,000, which you can get today if you're one of the first 100 students for an exclusive introductory live stream special price. Just click yes, I want in to learn more. Robert is so confident in this program that he's backed it with his 30-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, he'll refund the entire purchase price of your program. Okay, now remember, this special offer is only good until the end of this strategy session today, and it looks like we're nearing the end of our scheduled time together. So, as we begin the question and answer session, let's start a timer for 15 minutes. And once the time runs out, this opportunity will expire. Again, to get instant access to the entire Real Estate Cash Flow Blueprint and all of the free bonuses, simply click the button that says, "Yes, I want in." Okay, now let's get to the question and answer segment. Robert, do you have anything for our audience before we get started?
So the point here is this, is that Rich Dad is a financial education company. We recommend you take courses. Hire somebody to take you through it. Hold your hand. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a smart thing to do because it's your money. And losing your money goes a lot faster than making your money. With me, I started in real estate back in 1973. I came back from Vietnam and I went to my rich dad, and my rich dad always said, invest in real estate. So all I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is what you do from tomorrow on will be determined by what you study, what you learn today. So again, I'm on it because I want you to make it. I bless these programs, but you still have to do the work.
All right, we have a lot of people on the session right now, and because we have a lot of crossover in the questions, Robert's team has grouped them together so we can get through as many of them as possible. But we are limited on time, so let's get started. Okay, first question. It looks like several of you are asking some variation of this one. What is the best way to start investing in real estate when you have little or no money? That is a great question. And the answer is by learning how to use debt or other people's money to invest. But it's critical to ensure that you have the right education before you get started. When people say, how do you get started? Well, I don't think most of you can borrow $300 million, and neither could I at one time. So the first amount I ever borrowed, my first real estate property, and I bought a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo on a credit card. So I had nothing down into the property, and I made $25. It was called an infinite return because it was 100% debt producing cash. It's called an infinite return. And those days are coming back again. But I started with nothing. Okay, next we have, how do you get over your fear in starting out in real estate investing? Another great question. Listen, I understand because I've been there, and we're here to help you. Robert's personally trained team of experienced real estate investors will help you get from where you are today to where you want to be. And remember, it's guaranteed to work or your money back. So my rich dad said, you know, if you really do need to get educated, take real estate courses. So that's why I signed up for my first real estate course back in 1974. Back then it was $385 for a weekend, which was a fortune because I was only making $500 as a pilot, Marine Corps officer and pilot. So I put that education on my credit card, $385, and I become a multi-millionaire because of it. That's the power of education. So it's really up to you. Here's a good question. I've read your books. Would you suggest to start off with online training or rather keep reading and start as soon as I feel secure enough about my knowledge? 9 out of 10 small businesses fail. Most real estate deals are bad. So why would you not hire somebody that's going to guide you through it? Why would you take that big a risk? I don't. Unfortunately, Robert's exclusive personally trained team of expert real estate investors can't help everyone watching right now. There are just too many of you. But if you're one of the fortunate people who takes action today, you'll have immediate access to step-by-step guidance on how to achieve real wealth through real estate the Rich Dad way. All right, this one says, I'm so busy with work and family, what if I don't have time to do this? I understand that one. My wife and I said the same thing when we got started. And the reality is we've heard this 1,000 times. Look, life is not going to get less busy, and that isn't the real problem. The real problem is people get overwhelmed, not knowing where to start. Listen, we're only talking about 1 or 2 hours a day. You just need to follow Robert's step-by-step blueprint and apply yourself consistently. We have many great programs, great instructors, things that I've used myself. I've worked on them. They work, but you have to do the work. All right, here's another question. What if my spouse doesn't want to do this? How can I do this if I don't have their support? Well, that's why we give you the 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee, which makes this a no-brainer. Again, at some point, you have to decide that you're going to stop living in fear and finally take a step outside of your comfort zone.
You'll learn the basics of how this whole system works, so you can either get rich or maybe not become homeless in this process.
All right, this one says, what if there is a crash in the real estate or stock market? And some people are concerned that we may be in a bubble. Robert, is now a good time to invest?
It's really the best time to get into real estate, but you better be educated. You need more education, not less.
Now, as we've mentioned, this isn't for everyone, but it's been great to see so many people taking advantage of this opportunity. I mean, we've got New Zealand, Switzerland, Canada, the US, Mexico, the list goes on and on. It looks like there's going to be a lot of people getting out of the rat race. Now, we only have a little bit of time left. The fact is, this group will go on and accomplish big things whether you join in or not. This is your chance to finally step up and change the course of the rest of your life. Listen, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Where do you want to be 6, 9, 12 months from now? Wishing you had taken action or cashing checks from your income properties? Why not you? And why not now? Finding your happiness takes guts. Why can't this be the moment that you change your path and get the results that you've always wanted, and you know they're possible? Robert, do you have any last final words for our viewers?
Either you decide to get more educated and get educated by smarter people, or get out. But this is not a time to be in or out. You got to know at least you're committed to education, and that's what Rich Dad's World stands for.
So what's at stake here for you is Robert's cutting-edge real estate cash flow blueprint system, how to achieve real wealth the Rich Dad way. The personal real estate riches profile, Robert's proven real estate contracts and forms toolkit, and the insider secrets to scaling your cash flow and mastering real estate bonus course. A total value of over $5,000, which you can get today for an exclusive introductory live stream special price. But hurry. Remember, this offer is only good for the first 100 new clients. Just click Yes, I Want In to learn more. And remember, you have an exclusive, risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, we'll refund the entire purchase price of your program. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. We've really enjoyed our time together and the opportunity to see you take real action. Now, I see we've nearly met full capacity, so don't miss out on this special event pricing and bonuses. Just click the button that says, Yes, I Want In on this page before it's too late. We look forward to helping you achieve financial independence and finally exiting the rat race. Okay, thanks for joining us today. We look forward to hearing about your success stories.
All right, well, now we have a special segment with best-selling author and financial expert Jim Rickards that you do not want to miss. Listen to Jim's outlook for 2023 and how you can prepare for opportunities that lie ahead.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Robert. Well, 2023, I would say put on your crash helmet because we're going to have a very severe recession and a global recession. So it's often the case that, maybe the U.S. is in recession, but China's doing okay, or Western Europe's in a recession and Japan's doing okay. This looks like a global recession. Global recessions are rare. It's rarely the case that all the major economies of the world are going down at the same time, but that's exactly what's, I wouldn't say what's coming. It's exactly where we are. It's going to get a lot worse. Now, the U.S., first quarter, second quarter, 2022, there was a mild recession. You had 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP. Janet Yellen says, don't call it a recession. Sorry, Janet, it is, but it's mild. Third quarter growth was strong, but one of the reasons it was strong is because of inventory accumulation, which is can imply weaker growth in the following quarter. We'll see what happens in the fourth quarter. We haven't quite closed the books. We don't have all the data, but But a lot of the indicators that people look at, unemployment, for example, unemployment is a lagging indicator. It doesn't really start to go up until the recession is already here. Because if you're an employer running a business, you don't want to lay people off. They're hard to get back. It costs money, and you do everything else you can. You cut costs, you borrow money, you juggle get a lot of balls in the air. And then only when things are really bad and you don't see any way out, then you start to lay people off. So unemployment is a lagging indicator. Same thing with interest rates. Interest rates actually peak after the recession begins, for the reason I mentioned, which is as we're going into a recession and companies are in distress, they borrow more money. It's like, well, this won't last. We'll get out of it, borrow some money, et cetera. But then it turns out it does last, and you have trouble paying back your debts, and then bad debts go up, and then interest rates come down. But again, that's a lagging indicator. So you can't look at interest rates and unemployment and say, well, when they get bad, the recession's coming. No, when they get bad, the recession's already here. So how do you know the recession's coming? What are the indicators that tell you that bad news is right around the corner? There are several. One of them are inverted yield curves. Look at a Treasury yield curve. This is public information. It's not secret. Take a look at a chart. The interest rate, the yield to maturity on a 1-year Treasury bill, 365-day bill, is higher than a 10-year Treasury note. Now, why should that ever be the case? If I'm going to lend you money for a year, I might want a certain interest rate. If I'm going to lend you money for 10 years, I want a higher interest rate. I'm taking more risk, more duration, more credit risk, more inflation risk, et cetera. You always want a higher interest rate on a longer maturity, all things equal. So a normal yield curve is upward sloping. As the maturity gets longer, the interest rate gets higher. That is not true today. The 10-year note yield is lower than the 1-year note. Why would that be true? It would only be true if investors in the 10-year note expected bad things to happen. They said, hey, I'll take the low. The Fed controls the short end of the curve. They're making that 1-year note or a 4-month bill or a 6-month bill go higher, because that's where they do have, raising the Fed funds target rate does make the short end of the yield curve, does make those rates go higher. But when you get out to 10 years, why would I take a lower yield on a 10-year note? The answer is I think bad things are going to happen. I think it's not me personally. This is the market talking. The market's expecting a very bad recession. The market's expecting interest rates to collapse very quickly. And so they'll take what they can get today in the anticipation of lower rates and capital gains on the 10-year note sector. So an inverted yield curve, they're rare. They do happen, but they're a very reliable sign of recession coming. That's where the big money is. I mean, these are institutional investors, banks, foundations, sovereign wealth funds. This isn't a meme stock or, retail investors. This is how the big money positions itself, and you can see it. There are more esoteric indicators. I mean, you really now we're really going behind the curtain of the international monetary system. You really got to understand how all this works. But there's a very sharp inversion, meaning shorter term rates or nearer term contracts have higher yields than contracts that are further out. Eurodollars are interesting. The Treasury yield curve is sort of a short-term view of long-term rates. The Eurodollar curve, futures curve, is a long-term view of short-term rates, because the Eurodollar is an overnight rate. So I'm betting, where do I think the overnight rate is going to be 6 months or a year from now? That's what the Eurodollar futures curve tells you. But it's saying the same thing. It's inverted. It's the December and January and early 2023 month contracts have a yield to maturity that's higher than December 2023, out 1 year. Again, why should that be the case? It means that the big money expects things to get really bad and interest rates to come down. And you got to know where to look. You go to the CME Group, Eurodollar futures curve, and they trade at a discount. So if the number goes down, that means the rate's going up. There's a little bit of bond math involved, but I've looked at it and I understand it. And that is not only unusual, that's and rare, does happen. But the last time it happened like this was 2007, right ahead of the 2008 global financial crisis. So don't take too much comfort from unemployment and interest rates. Look at yield curves, both in the Treasury market and the Eurodollar futures market. What they tell you is that there's a global dollar shortage. There's a global collateral shortage to prop up $1 quadrillion of derivatives. And the big players, big boys and girls, so to speak, expect interest rates to come down a lot and expect a really bad economy. So that would be my main forecast for 2023. Let me kind of hit the financial education issue, hit that nail on the head. First of all, I'm a big believer in financial education. Financial literacy, it goes by different names. And people say, they look at my books or, interviews and so forth. And I often get kind of thank you, thanks for putting it in a way that I can understand. And I say, look, I'm not smarter than anybody else, but if you speak in plain English, it's amazing how you can actually communicate. And too many of the eggheads and the PhD economists, they like to throw jargon around. The concepts are not necessarily all that difficult, but the vocabulary is dense, and the equations, most of which involve closed form models that don't resemble reality, it's a separate issue, are not very accessible. But there's nothing I've seen, even at the highest levels of economics, where I have worked, that you can't, with metaphors and plain English and examples, you can actually communicate it. So I'm a big fan of that, and it is very important. So in terms of what investors can do getting ready for 2023, a couple of things. I would increase my allocation to cash. And people hate cash. They're like, why would I want cash? It has a low yield, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it does have a low yield, but a couple of things. Number one, in a deflationary environment, which I would not rule out, cash could be your best performing asset. You're not getting much yield, if any, but in real terms, the value of the dollar goes up. That's what deflation means. Your dollars are worth more. Inflation means your dollars are worth less, but in deflation, your dollars are worth more. So in real terms, it could actually be your best performing asset. But more to the point, it has no volatility. It just is what it is. So if you have other volatile assets, could be real estate, gold, stocks, bonds, et cetera, having a slice of cash reduces the overall volatility of the portfolio. So it helps you sleep at night. But the most valuable thing of all, it gives you optionality. If things start crashing all around you, stocks crash, which I expect, bad debts go up, junk bonds collapse. We've talked about crypto, that whole world is imploding. But if things are crashing around you and you have cash, you can go shopping. You can be the one who picks up the bargains. And this is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway have over $130 billion of cash on their balance sheet. Why? Because they see what I see. They're looking at the same thing, saying, yeah, just be patient. Don't get caught in the downdraft. But when it's over or near a bottom, then go out and get some good companies or good natural resources or mining or other assets, private equity, et cetera, for bargain prices. So that's the real benefit of cash. Beyond that, I like treasury notes. Their 10-year treasury notes there's practically no credit risk. I won't say zero, but extremely low credit risk. There is market risk. 10-year treasury notes can be volatile. If that's a little too volatile for your taste, you can look at a 5-year note or a 2-year note. But if I'm right about the depth of the recession that's coming, and maybe a global liquidity crisis, which is coming, and obviously I think I am, or I wouldn't be describing it, then interest rates are going to come down a lot. And you can have big capital gains on a 10-year treasury note. If interest rates drop from about 4% to 2%, you're going to, you're holding the 4% note, you're going to not only have a higher yield, but you're going to have a big capital gain on that note. I always recommend 10% gold, not 50%, not 100%. People like to put words in your mouth. They say, oh, Jim Rickard says sell everything and buy gold. I've never said that. I don't think that's a good strategy. I do think a 10% slice of your investable assets is a good idea. And the key is diversification. And when you say that, people roll their eyes and go, well, of course, we know all about diversification. And the fact is, most people don't. I mean, they hear it. But I run into people all the time and they go, well, Jim, I'm highly diversified. I own 50 different stocks in 10 different sectors, semiconductors, consumer non-durables, mining and manufacturing, et cetera. And I say, you're not diversified. You may have 50 stocks, but you have one asset class. It's called stocks. And they're all going to go down together. Not every single stock, but they're highly correlated in times of distress. Exactly when you want the diversification, it goes away because all the stocks go down at once. Real diversification is have some stocks, that's fine. Have some treasury notes or treasury bills, which we talked about. Have some cash, some real estate, some private equity, some gold and silver. that's diversification. That will serve you well in every environment and get you through the storm. Well, my new book is called Sold Out, and it's, as the name may imply, it's about the supply chain and really the breakdown of the supply chain. But what is driving inflation is the supply chain, because everyone gets the inflation, as I said, but no one's ready for the disinflation. No one's ready for the deflation. But that's coming very quickly, sooner than people expect. So there's nothing new about supply chains. What is new was supply chain science. That really started in 1989 with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. And applied mathematics, linear programming, increased computing power, increased access to data. And this enabled the rise of supply chain science. And to the point today, you can go to a major research university and be a major in supply chain. And it's an academic discipline, and there's a lot of rigor behind it. Well, with that came again the rise of post Mao Zedong China and the fall of the Berlin Wall and the Soviet Union. That was the kickoff for globalization. And with the science and the computing power, the applied math, globalization, we got to global supply chains, where all of a sudden the supply chains are 9,000 miles long from, Chongqing to New York, or, pick your reference points. And I make the point that, give a simple example, a loaf of bread. All right, you buy a loaf of bread in a supermarket if they have it, if they're not sold out. But where'd the bread come from? Well, it came from a bakery. Okay, but you need a wrapper, right? Either plastic or paper. That came from somewhere else. How did the bread get there? Well, it went by truck. Well, how do the trucks run? You need diesel fuel. You need a truck driver. You need highway maintenance, et cetera. What about the baker? Well, they have an oven. Where did they get the oven? From an oven manufacturer. What does that person need? Tempered glass and steel and thermostats and controls, et cetera. What about the wheat that went into the bread? Well, it came from a mill. Where'd the mill get it? Well, they got it from a farmer. Well, how does the farmer raise the wheat? Well, he's got a tractor run with diesel fuel and harvester, et cetera. So you take my point that when a simple loaf of bread has an incredibly densely connected supply chain, and every link in that supply chain has its own supply chain of its inputs and outputs. And you quickly reach the conclusion that, and I said this in the book, the supply chain is not part of the economy. The supply chain is the economy. It's the whole thing. And we just kept running them longer and deeper. And you can theorize it and you can model it, but no one can comprehend all the inputs, because everything is an input to something else, and every output is an input. And what drove this supply chain science? What was going on for the last 30 years? The answer is efficiency, cheaper costs. And, Walmart's the model. Walmart invented something called cross-docking. Well, what's that? So a truck pulls up to a warehouse, you unload the goods into the warehouse, another truck pulls up, you unload it, put it on the other truck, and it goes to the destination. Well, Walmart said, why do that? Why be in the warehouse? Why create inventory? Why have this financing cost? Why don't we just unload it from truck A to truck B, or trucks B, C, and D, and send it on its way? And that's what they did. And by the way, what is a Walmart or a Home Depot or a Lowe's? The store is the warehouse. They call them big box stores, but they're really warehouses. So the idea was, between cross-docking and big box stores, you could eliminate the warehouse and the distribution center, on and on and on, all with the goal of getting costs lower. But there was a flaw in the whole system, which was, your costs were lower and retail costs were lower, everyday low prices, as Walmart says. But what they were missing is that there were hidden costs. They were not taking into account the hidden costs. And the hidden costs had to do with the fact that this thing became so densely interconnected and so strung out that if it broke down in one single part, the whole thing was going to collapse. That's the nature of complex dynamic systems. And to give an example of that, so Germany is a major automobile manufacturer, Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, BMW, et cetera. But there's about 100 miles or more wire in a car like that. You've got all kinds of electronics and connections and gauges, et cetera. Well, you can't just throw the wires all over the car. They have these plastic conduits that they put on first, and then they run the wires through the conduits to whatever part of the vehicle they're supposed to go. Turns out those plastic conduits are made in Ukraine. Well, they got a little trouble in Ukraine these days, and the plastic conduits were not getting out, and they had to shut down VW, BMW, Volkswagen, BMW, and Audi manufacturing lines because they couldn't get one plastic part. They had the chassis and the steel and the leather and the glass and everything else. But there's one part which you have to put on first, by the way. It's not like you can build the rest of the car and stick it on at the end. So that's an example. Here you have major sophisticated manufacturing assembly lines shut down because they can't get one plastic part that comes from a place that happens to be in a war because Russia chose to invade. So this is the point being, it's extremely fragile. But right now we're in between. Supply chain 1.0 has collapsed. Supply chain 2.0 has not come together. We're in a fuzzy, in between, muddling and inefficient period right now. And it's going to continue. And these difficulties are going to, as I say, persist for some time. So take it through the whole history of supply chains, what happened, why it happened, what's coming next, and then shift to money and talk about inflation and deflation with a lot of forward-looking advice for investors.